Hello YouTube land, my name is Castellcaden and I'm going to be showcasing to you the one-handed Impale Cyclone Slayer build. And before anybody asks, we are using the variant that has Soul Tether as well as this glorious Vanity Jewel. Now, as you can see, this corrupts the nodes around it, and as this is the Doriani Jewel, what this will allow us to have is this node, Corrupted Souls. Ignore the first part. The second part's the important one. Gain 20% maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. Now, when you use something like the Soul Tether, this allows us to have almost 1.5k energy shield on top of our life, which is basically leechable. It starts at 0, but as soon as you just get in there, that's basically an extra 1.5k effective life. On top of that, we are using Belly of the Beast. I have seen Bronn's Lithe builds and Carcass Jack builds, and I've done that with the wife. We both are running Cyclone Slayers, but it seemed to fizzle out probably around tier 11, tier 12. I've done Shaper with this build. I've done many Red Elders. We're about to probably try to grab our Uber Elder. We just haven't gotten around to it. It hasn't just popped up for us, which is fine. We've farmed quite a bit of Legion with this build, and we haven't run into many issues. When we die, it's usually us just not paying attention, or just nutty Legion one-shots mixed in with a bunch of bad mods. We would easily be able to be on the more defensive side if we stayed in sand, but I mean, we just tend to like to nuke things, and this build does a ton of that. So this build, once I socket in like infused channeling, once I focus on getting my ancestrals down and everything else, including Blood Rage, including everything else, we can do easily about 3 to 4 million Shaper DPS. With that said, the original poster of this build can go well above 10 million into the 13-14 million range, easily. There are a couple of hot swaps to note of, and I'll go into those after I just kind of, have a little bit of fun in this map. But some of the other things to note, oh hey,
Kill me once.
easy peasy. Like, I basically just was not worrying at all. Leech is quite nice. You just roll your flasks and just keep going. The Lion's Roar is quite nice. It knocks enemies back, so if they're melee, they can't really hit you very easily because it knocks them back. They have to come back at you. And it's a nice way to, like, lock enemies into a wall or a corner, etc., etc. Like I mentioned, we have died with this build, but it was realistically our fault. It was either I'm streaming and trying to pay attention to chat, or like me and her are talking, and then I'm like, oh, I look over on her screen because we usually screen share, and end of story. Basically, just to go over some of the other points. So these jeweled foils, they are self-crafted. However, they are not best in slot. However, these can probably sell for about 4 Exalted Orbs still. On top of that, I'm not using the Cyclone damage enchant on this. If I did, that would be great. It's worth 12x right now, and I just haven't gotten around to buying one for both me and the wife. These jewels are basically minus mana cost, which basically means that I run free with no mana cost whatsoever. I have 33, but that's primarily just so I can have comfortable leap slam range, so I can just keep doing this. It doesn't look like it actually goes down at all, so it's perfectly fine. A couple things to note. Again, we are utilizing Flesh and Stone and Blood Stance. We are utilizing Dread Banner. So if I want the damages, I can switch to Blood and Flesh. If I want better utility, I can switch over to Stone and Sand. That gives me bigger AoE, and it also blinds enemies in the area and less damage for those that aren't directly in my radius, which is perfect. It's great. The other thing to note is that our golems are auto-summoned. Basically, as soon as I take damage, Ice Golem is summoned, as well as the area around me has a curse placed on it, punishment, which is basically gives me more melee physical damage. This is brutality based. The things to note here is this can be hot swapped to literally a few other jewels. If we are doing Delves, Rage is a good one because it's just constant minions. I'll reply to him in a minute. If you're going for bossing and straight up hard content, and if you have enough intelligence, I would switch this to an infused channeling. Now, the reason why we haven't done it is because we're primarily just focusing on mapping, so we're doing mid-tier mapping for the most part and just gaining more currency and just rushing the maps over and over and over again. We've done glacier runs, and we've done a whole bunch of other stuff. So I mean, pulverize for us is fine. If we do timeless domains, we switch over to rage. If we're focusing on higher level content, we switch over to infused channeling. I might have already mentioned it, and I apologize if I did. Again, these jewels are pretty hard to get. What you're looking for is a very high tier of physical damage and accuracy hybrid. This was obviously not it. This was one of my earlier ones. Same with this one. With that said, if you actually do get something like that, those types of foils can easily sell for above 6 Exalted Orbs. But, I mean, if you have it, you might as well grab it. Afterwards, what I did was I quality'd to 46. Both of these? No, 46, 47. Highest that you can get is 48, I believe, and I just couldn't get it on that. So what I ended up doing, because I didn't actually do it ahead of time, is I crafted the 16% quality and 70% quality, and then I just used beast crafting to push it to 30% each, plus the numbers here, so 46%. Now, my version of foils versus the original poster's version of foils, they're roughly about 5 to 6% weaker. So the best in slot ones would be those, or if you can find a very good Paradoxica. Now, on top of that, if the Paradoxica, if you find a really, really good one, it pretty much carries the build. And at that point, you could even go for like a junk second foil, and you'd still have a hell of a shit ton of amount of damage. I've seen other users, I forget the unique weapon, forgive me for this, I'll put it in the description once I actually look it up, but it's another unique weapon, whereas if you have 3 white sockets, it increases your melee range, and I've seen somebody in my hideout that had it, and the melee range was huge. I'm sure they also had Pulverize, I'm sure they also had a whole bunch of other stuff, but it was a fun time to see. Anyways, this build is great. It has good utility, good sustain, good leech, good everything. And who figured? This is basically Cyclone League. If you check on po.ninja, over 40% of the players are probably playing Cyclone right now. And more power to GGG. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel, leave a like on the video, and don't forget the most important part, have fun. I'm doing a 3 Exalted Orb trade right now. So until next time, later.